and around the world.
Съм консултант на Mental Disability Advocacy Center за България, което означава, лобирам за промяна в системата, която засяга техните права.
Annetta is on her way to visit one of her clients, a 40 strongly suspected that she had been sexually abused.
Как да ви кажа? Всеки баща иска да предпази децата си.
Информирахме, никой не отреагира.
Когато е констатирано, че тя е преживяла това насилие, справедливостта изисква да преодолее онова, което е преживяла. Вместо това, тя е получила отричане, получила е недоверие, получила
organizations approach the justice system on behalf of children, there is also a need for children to be able to make complaints themselves and to be taken seriously.
Justice system beings with rights, and that needs to change.
In Bulgaria, if a child wants to go to a court, it's almost impossible because according to
Venceslava is 14 years old and has an intellectual disability. At the age of 1, the only option given to her mother was to place her in an institution.
Тя обича, радва се на лакомства, като я посещавах, поне така беше. Сега не знам, доста време, 2-3 години повече, ако не съм я виждала.
Фактът, че тя вместо да бъде отглеждана от семейството и вместо семейството да получи цялата необходима подкрепа, за да се справи с предизвикателството, което институция.
Children with disabilities may require extra support when accessing justice. International law says they must be given this.
Dismissive of them and their needs and their ability to express. So I think that the legal system in Bulgaria specifically, they have to know more. Rights.
Maya!
Making these changes can be difficult, but they are possible. In a landmark decision from
Аз се казвам Тотин Иванов Бинев. Обичам да карам колело и играем на компютъра.
Upon reaching 16, Deutschen was denied further education
уверени в правотата си първо и се надявахме да... най-вече ние се борихме за някаква кауза, която е доста голяма, касае много деца.
Deutschen and his to reach a final decision, meaning that Deutschen lost valuable time in his education. His case helped many other young people with disabilities, but it was too late for him.
First of all, families and children need to be better informed about their rights and where to go and who to ask for help when their rights are violated. They need to be supported, and this support should come from community members, from lawyers, from social workers or NGOs, but they should not be alone in this process.
Four things you need to know about women, the law, and the workforce. Number 1. When more women are hired, countries
economic gains. For example, our research shows that when women participate at the same rate as men, gains in the US could be about 5% of GDP, in Japan up to 9%. Besides doing research on these broader issues across countries, we are now beginning to build some of this into our policy advice to individual countries.
Number 2.
In a number of countries, there are restrictions on women's economic participation. There are restrictions on women's ability to open a bank account, own property, and to freely this the gender gap.
Number 3. When women are legally guaranteed equality at work, more women work.
The good news is that our study confirmed rights can make a real difference. So for example, if you were to grant women constitutionally legal equity, give them the right to be the head of a household and give them equal inheritance rights, you would see the gender gap.
You'll improve the economy.
Taking into account broadly accepted social and religious norms, countries aiming to raise female labor force participation should reform their laws in order to create equal opportunities. Changed two of their laws in 1990s to be more gender equal, and as a result, labor force participation from females increased by 15%.
The economics on this are clear. Reform the law,
Central Tanzania. Cattle is a main source of food and income for the Maasai. But there are no bulls to disturb the In the village of Alailudla, Maruka carries out inseminations.
Natumia njia hiyo ya usalishaji kwa chupa kwa sababu ni nzuri na dume mbegu na kusafirisha kuleta hapa ni rahisi zaidi. Pia njia ya uhamilishaji ni nzuri kwa sababu ng'ombe jike anaepukana na magonjwa yanayopatikana
operated by the International Atomic Energy Agency, IAEA. Participants from all over Africa come to Tanzania's national prime bulls of various breeds are kept here. Semen is collected and prepared for distribution with controls and samples are frozen and contained in liquid nitrogen. This makes transporting them easy and allows storage for many years without the use of electricity. Inseminators use them as needed in communities all over Tanzania. A nuclear technique known as radio insemination. One RIA test can be done on samples from up to 80 cows. And providing RIA kits. Farmers can now breed cows, which fetch high This report was produced by Louise Potterton for the United Nations.
In 2010 and 2011, the Arab Spring swept across that the benefits of the revolution would filter down to local people, like those in Upper Egypt, one of the poorest regions of the country. But because of the and economic conditions across the country have got even worse, making people's lives unstable. Gamal Khalaf sees the bat.
أكتر حاجة الناس محتاجاها مش حاجة واحدة، في حاجات كتير الناس محتاجاها. محتاجة الاهتمام بالتعليم، بالصحة.
And helping to build up small businesses, the Hayat Human Security Project in Upper Egypt aims to impact policy and to change lives. With support and business development advice. Medhat Rashid is a Hayat field manager.
The goal of Hayat project is to enhance the life
Gamal serves on the Village Human Security Forum, part of the Hayat project, one of 6 new grassroots community groups designed for locals. The Hayat project aims to empower communities with multiple interventions that support people's human security in the broadest sense, from jobs to health and education. In Upper Egypt, farmers like him face many challenges.
طبعا عندنا امكانيات بالنسبه للزراعه ضعيفه ما عندناش
is a date farmer. And now there's a new risk to his crop, the invasive red palm weevil, which eats away at trees from the inside. The region have been affected, including some of Gamal's trees. Conventional treatments are time-consuming and labor-intensive, but the Hyatt project introduced Gamal boring into the trees and inserting pesticide with this simple hydraulic device. Gamal has rescued his trees.
لكن الجهاز بحط من 3
just treat his own palms. He designed and fabricated 3 additional machines, which he now hires out to other farmers in need. It's an example of how low-scale technology and date production in the area is once again on the rise. With both his entrepreneurial spirit and community service, Gamal improve not only the lives of his children, but everyone who lives here. This
television program. I'm Bill Miller. The main purpose of this show is to promote a discussion of major international issues such as war and peace, economic and social development, climate change, and human rights that impact Today's program will focus on some very serious topics and some that are a little lighthearted at times. We're going to be talking about a connection between Ebola, the environment, and happiness. We'll be back in just a moment. Welcome back to our program. Today we're shining the spotlight on the Ebola virus as well as the environment and the issue of happiness. My guest psychologist, humanitarian, author, United Nations advocate, award-winning journalist, and media personality. She is popularly known as Dr. Judy for giving advice on radio and TV for over 30 years. Serious topic. Ebola ravaged several countries in Africa, especially Guinea, Sierra Leone, and Liberia. You went to Sierra Leone, and we're going to see a clip of some in a few minutes of your man-made disasters over the years, but how did you get involved in dealing with the Ebola crisis?
Well, at the time that this terrible disaster was striking all these countries you mentioned and around the world, I was the chair of the in room that there wasn't enough attention on the psychosocial issues, the fact that people were suffering emotionally, and that they would be suffering emotionally for a long time. Ambassadors from the UN were present and sponsored it, and WHO was there, and UN Women, and UNICEF. And so there was someone from Israel there, and he said to me afterwards, the helpers and the first aid responders and all of these people. And so he said, come in a week. And I said, okay, I'll be there.
And you were there. That's how it happened. Yes. And about holistic healing. What is the thrust of this book?
Well, it is about the psychological and psychosocial issues that people are suffering from at the time during Ebola. Love their family members and everyone who they know, and the rest of us, because there are other diseases as well. So it highlights all of those emotional issues that people are going through, the stigma that still exists.
You have visited Sierra Leone. You were there during the Ebola crisis.
Yes,
you went back after the Ebola crisis.
Yes.
And you also produced a very interesting video on your experiences. What we're going to do is take a few minutes.
Memories of those dead bodies, cause fear to us.
I face something, stigma in my community.
The Ebola epidemic hit West Africa hard in March 2000. Touching, especially dead bodies. Fear, stigma, myths.
People were actually attributing the many deaths.
To address such threats in mental health and well-being, I went to Sierra Leone to help provide psychosocial support, as I'd done after many disasters worldwide. We conducted trainings and workshops for children, communities, country now Ebola-free. It looked like a new world. With bustling streets, busy stalls, packed buses, weddings, people hugging with the ban on touch lifted, schools reopened. It's not the same story on the inside.
Don't know where to sleep, even to eat.
People stigmatize us.
Some of my friends, like for instance, they run away from me. My stomach, my aid. The women, they lost their husbands. Yeah, say, but look, you are still having the virus in your system, so I cannot accept.
About the psychosocial issues in Ebola at this panel at the United Nations, organized by Voices of African Mothers, and at this forum at the UN in December 2014 that I co-organized in my role as chair. As well as NGOs and UN agencies like UNICEF and WHO. All that inspired my trip to the Ebola-stricken region to help build resilience and capacity, with the efforts earning the blessing of high-level officials. My songwriting partners and I wrote a theme song about hope. and psychosocial needs in the region are drastic.
In these countries, all of them had less than
war, and then during the course of Ebola.
The importance and the impact of mental health here in Sierra Leone is evident at this conference. The theme of this mental health conference Spain, the Netherlands, and the U.S. to present their work in many partnerships with local Sierra Leoneans. Support for recovery is happening for survivors in this network supported by the government. Ebola, welcomed back as shown in plays like this one. And for youth, in programs like this one founded by a former burial team member. In these workshops I co-developed for children's resilience being rolled out. And this camp support
I'm smart. I can change the world.
Celebrating heroes. It's a major theme in Ebola recovery. Ebola survivors are heroes. Government officials who step
You did an amazing thing for everybody and for your country.
Despite advances, there is much to be done and many needs.
What we look for from the government's part is people who are mentally ill.
We need counseling. We need medical support.
The money is not enough for us.
I'm asking you guys for you to support these orphans in the schools.
But ultimately,
But we are survivors, so we will survive.
Love together, hope, peace, and love.
Dr. Judy, that was a situation has improved quite dramatically. We've heard so much about the Ebola virus and the devastation it created. As you look at this and you think back, reflect back on the time that you were there, what is your major takeaway as far as Ebola is in the rearview mirror, but what's the takeaway as to what we need to remember about this?
we need to remember the people are still suffering and that we need to pay attention to them. That's why I wrote that book about it, and that the someone really cares about what's happening to them. Simple little things like you saw that technique that I was doing with the burial team members and the children where you just go like this. You can imagine that this is very strong, like you're things like that. Help the little ones, help everybody, and knowing that someone is paying attention and still cares about you even when the news is gone over and the cycle changes.
And even though what is the focus of this book, and how does it tie into this Ebola virus and the environment in general?
I think what's so important is that the UN agenda now that's been passed is really built on these three means is that what's going on in the environment, in our ecosystem, affects us individually. Just even in a simple way to think that if one research showed patients in a hospital saw the real trees and environment, then those patients got better. So there's such an interaction between our immune system and really our environment, taking care of our environment, and a lot of events at the UN and in the world know how interrelated interrelated our environment is with our psychological well-being.
Now, you've participated in many of these United Nations meetings. Now, there are many good reasons. World brings the private sector, the non-governmental organizations. How important is that to bring these folks together to talk about these? And as you mentioned, there's a myriad of meetings going on at the United Nations with some really high-ranking people.
Is that there is now a real kind of interaction between the government side and civil society. It means for people, for all of your viewers, that their voice matters. Partnerships. What does that mean? That means that governments want to work with civil society. Who is civil society? The people. And the NGOs and the international NGOs and all those organizations.
Financed, independently produced program. The opinions expressed on Global Connections Television are solely those of the moderator and his guests. Our viewers are invited to check out the website at www.globalconnectionstelevision. A website, or any other media outlets, please go to our website for more information. Global Connections Television is provided as a public service at no cost. Today, we're looking at a variety of issues. Today is Dr. Judy Kuriansky. Dr. Judy Kuriansky is a renowned international psychologist, humanitarian, author, United Nations advocate, award-winning journalist, and media personality. She is popularly we're going to move into a happier area now. Let's talk about well-being, happiness and well-being. You have been involved, you're a renowned international psychologist. You have been involved in working with the United Nations on focus attention on really happiness and well-being, which we all want to experience.
Yes, don't we all? That's totally true. I've actually, history has been made. The Secretary General has mentioned well-being a couple of times, but through a partnership that is the chair of the Psychology Coalition, I partnered with Ambassador Dr. Caleb Otto from the mission of Palau to really promote mental health and well-being being in the Sustainable Development Goals and now in the agenda. And many other countries were supportive of this. He developed a Friends of Mental Health and Well-Being. The least developed countries, Vietnam, Cyprus, Greece, many other countries were helpful in saying this needs to be in the agenda, and it is. So in Target 3.4, tremendous implications for so many people who suffer from depressions and schizophrenia and even stresses from work. Now programs and policy have a place where they health for all and education for all and women's empowerment and the climate change addressing and all these other issues. So I'm very pleased that that is now something
today and what you've been working on that is of interest to people not only in developing countries but people all around the world. You've got some very unique ideas and some very outstanding programs underway.
And the video that
come back and talk about it in just a moment. Let's go to the video.
for youth with learning disabilities and wows everyone with his singing.
I want the world to know that people with autism are smart too. That people with mental health issues should be loved and sincerely.
Admitted her battle with depression and alcohol and drug use.
I've had depression, like clinical depression, for like my entire adolescence, and so that's been something that I've always dealt with.
One in 5 of them have mental health problems, yet not enough of them, only about 20%, get the kind of help that they need.
Getting sober is always it's so worth it.
And now the United Nations is also raising awareness about youth with mental health challenges. The Mental Health Matters campaign, organized by the UN Department of International Youth Day, and just this past July, in a historic move, governments of the UN agreed to include in their proposed text for the Sustainable Development Goals a commitment to promote mental
real potential leaders, potential movement to transform the world.
In the UN spirit of partnership between governments and civil society, Ambassador with my work over many years answering youth's questions on the radio that showed they need to know they're not the only one with a problem, they're not abnormal, and there's hope and help. We want them that teaching income-generating activities and life skills can help them avoid HIV/AIDS and get out of poverty. Disaster shows that music and simple exercises builds resilience.
Cannot be sustainable unless people's well-being is also embraced. This is a very important breakthrough.
The government has to take care of the youngsters because
more education.
It tears me apart to see young people discarded on the streets, left to roam because they're quote-unquote abnormal in their behavior. I would like to see
de rêver et de transformer leurs rêves en réalité.
This is about your total strength, and mental health is part of this strength in you.
Global mental health is a major issue, and it seems as though it's getting a lot more attention today. Now, these are two United Nations agencies under the family of the UN. The World Bank, which deals with infrastructure development, that type of thing. And then you have the World Health Organization, which is a frontline agency of the United Nations. Within the UN system come together and host a conference like this that you're going to participate in?
I think what it shows, Bill, is the importance that mental health is being given throughout the UN system. From the autism spectrum disorders and from depression and alcohol and drug abuse. And so for the World Bank and WHO to be joining forces, along with many other of the UN agencies and governments, world we want.
The world we all want, the world we need.
Right,
That's exactly right. Now, another concept that's floating around, ties into well-being, obviously, is happiness. And there's a concept that it's important that we should think about happiness as for individual countries and for the world as a whole.
Well, happiness goes along with well-being, and there's a lot of research from the psychological point of view that shows how important happiness is to we've celebrated the International Day of Happiness every year on March 20th because that is a resolution that the United Nations has made, and we had Toriello of the government of Sao Tome and Principe. You have interviewed him.
Who's been a guest on our show. Yes.
Right, and I'm an advisor to Ambassador Toriello, and through his humanity that in fact Bhutan is responsible really for starting this whole campaign about happiness. In 1972, the king of the Kingdom of Bhutan decided that he was going to care about the happiness to just measuring the gross national product. So it's like the Beatles saying, money can't buy you love. That let's look at people's happiness as a way to measure the development of a country. And out during the negotiations for the Sustainable Development Goals. So people are paying attention to that, which is very positive, that this is a measure. As you mentioned about measurements, yes, people say, well, can you measure happiness? What? That you can measure happiness.
And we're going to. We have to. And there are other ways we can look at these criteria. But Dr. Judy Kuriansky, I want to thank you so very much for being with me today. And thank you for a very interesting and a very
بنت 13 سنة فجأة بجاه العدني درس يعني الصف السادس يعني حلم بنت جاهل أيوة من السن هذا أذاني تزوجني هذا أكبر مني يمكن ب20 سنة اللي تزوجوني يعني لما تزوج خلاص مرضت مع بالله اسعفوني وجلوس بالمستشفى كلمة ما عرفش أتحمل الشنقة دوخة يعني هذا كله سبب ما سبب الزواج المبكر وقلة التوعية عندنا أن أكثر البنات هذه بس اتحطم تحطمت بهذه الحاجات، تحطمت بالزواج المبكر. يعني فجأة يجوك على رجال يشتي حقوقه يشتي ما كنتش داريني بهذه الحاجة. sama drana masa gal grew up grew. روان سني يدا قارني برد سني هناس تقرون قاسة الخرا. مدرينا نداغلك كود ورسينا ما وينفع يادا قنوري تبرر تاترت لك كود غاس هاسي مساسي توق ميا هنا تتام قراد دمش
أنا استعدت أنا أنت برر إن نيتن مريم ترى تمقارتي تزدايقن أواصل نكتبتن طرقت الفزة
On a l'information automatiquement, on fait appel aux structures communautaires mises en place pour qu'ils puissent jouer leur rôle. Donc ils informent, ils rencontrent, ils font un travail de médiation entre l'école et les parents. Donc, bien qu'on n'appelle pas nous ont donné leur accord et les enfants continuent à venir à l'école.
Je m'appelle Alima, j'ai 25 ans. Sur mon blog, je publie des articles sur diverses thématiques concernant la femme, la jeunesse, l'enfant. On connaît le Niger. Aujourd'hui, je viens à Maradi rencontrer Rabi, une femme de 34 ans qui habite à Safo, un village à 15 km de la ville de Maradi, situé à 650 km.
Haihuwa ta 8, 4 ke dare 4 sun rasu. Ni ban ji daɗi ga jikina ba, tunda jikina sai ya ɗauka sala ban ji daɗi ba. Kowanda ke ƙaunata da ya gani ɗiyan nan yana haihuwa suna aikin likita ya zo da sauƙi tunda ana yin aiki kyauta. In ka ji yaron ka ba shi lahiya ka te ka kaiya a mai magani, in aka mashi magani aka ba gaba da ƙaruwa.
We are experiencing very hot summers and very cold winters.
Que van desapareciendo los glaciares.
We have people cutting down trees almost every day. We have people
el cambio que se produce en la Tierra, porque
wetlands, they are dying. Usually, summer people plant maize, but because there wasn't much rain during that time, there was devastation to the crops.
May we each connect with the love that we're made of. Our love for each other. And in that place, may we each be moved to whatever courageous and radical action the most radical thing I can think of doing myself is to give my 8-year labor of love, this film, to the world as a gift. Albatross just now went up on our website for free and will be available permanently to stream and download. So if you liked it, feel free to I now have the honor and privilege of introducing an amazing list of visionary, beautiful people of astonishing heroes of our world, starting with Sylvia Earle. Ian Thorpe. Maria Westerboss. Jeremy Snyder. Lucy Yeomans, Emily and Liz Taylor.
And experience the gift, the power, the superpower that Chris Jordan has demonstrated. And superpower. And what your gift, maybe your many gifts will be going forward, to try to achieve that place that Chris we have to make peace among ourselves, but it starts with understanding our absolute dependence on the natural world, to respect it and to treat Earth with us. In the end, it is inclusive of us, civilization, all the things that we have come to value. So I was privileged to go Wyland, and the dedicated volunteers and staff who look after are the guardians of Midway Island and life not only on the land but also in the surrounding 1950s and given the name Wisdom. And it occurred to me as I met her sitting on her most recent egg in January. In the 1950s. And to think that she has been a witness, as I have been a witness, of the changes in that ocean. Plastics did not exist when she first took on the ocean with her new powerful wings. Now, there were far more squid, far more little fish, far more life in the ocean when she began to fly and when I began to explore the ocean from the inside out. The bluefin tuna in the Pacific are down to less than 3% of what they were when wisdom began to fly and I began to dive. Still squid in the ocean, and believe it, I mean, it's hard to imagine, given all the pressures that we have put on the natural world, that there still are albatrosses. Woohoo! As Chris pointed out, the albatrosses don't know. Wisdom does not know why the ocean is now even if she knew what the cause was, she is not empowered, as we are, to do something about it. So the second time I got to go back and again see wisdom sitting of 2016, I knew she was out there, and I got word a few months later that she was back. She was sitting on her most recent egg, that later back in 2016, I was there to say thank you to President Barack Obama for taking action, that he had the power protected area on the planet, the Papahanaumokuakea Marine National Monument. At the time, it was the largest. Since then, surpassed by other gifts that nations moment in time as never before. We now know why the ocean matters. We now know the ocean is in trouble. We have the power, each of us. We look back on this time and can say, we got it. We understood. This is a moment as never before, but here's the thing, maybe as never again. Declines further. Let's turn the corner. Let's go from this to this on our watch, on your watch. Thank you.
Well, I don't know if it's a humbling building or it's to be humbled after hearing Sylvia speak, but thank you, Sylvia. Look, I'm a swimmer, I'm an athlete, and and how to stop getting that plastic into our marine environments. There's a number of ways we can do it. If it's as simple as just someone giving up a straw and telling them why you've given it up. By Adidas to Parley to be able to stop marine plastic and to get it out of our food chain, to get it out of our oceans as well. So that's me.
In the oceans comes from rivers and streams. So last summer with my brother, we kayaked down the most polluted river in the world on the very materials that polluted it, on 2 plastic bottle kayaks. We produced a really stepping up is huge because it's the second biggest plastic polluter to our oceans. And so there's a very special message I'd like to share with you from one of the head generals of Indonesia. Just when I peace, and that's what I call peace and clean. So I pledge to continue cleaning up our world's waterways. Thank you.
With Chris's amazing film is sometimes we can feel a bit overwhelmed, or we can feel a bit sort of helpless. And the one thing I like to remind us, because we've heard it here before, there's one you are the ones that make the decision. You're the one that act or don't act, okay? In my case, my pledge is to help democratize science. I feel science, oceanography, that empower and democratize science, but empower scientists all over the world, educators, to actually collect the data and keep this blue wave moving forward. And I ask you today as
Hi, my name is Jeremy Snyder with Tesla, and I joined the mission a decade ago. As a society, have consumed over 60 million years worth of stored fossil fuel in the last 100 years. This is the greatest opportunity we have ever seen to create new and better and my pledge is to continue on that mission.
I am Maria, and I bring you a statement. Much plastic, and got addicted to it, hooked. Scientists do warn us. Their message is loud and clear. Plastic can cause birth defects, genetic damage, cancer. Stop that. Save the oceans, save yourself, start today, startplasticdiet.org.
The most polluting industry, but Chris, your film was incredible. It was devastating, and I think the theme of this week has really been, for me, making people aware and then are incredibly proud to have worked on an amazing project with Parley. We've just dedicated our whole last issue to asking the fashion industry to walk up to the issue of plastic. And what has whether you're an individual or whether you're an industry. And so for me, my pledge is to really work with the fashion industry to help them take those first steps. We're going out to the my pledge to help fashion become much more plastic free. Thank you.
I'm Emily Penn. Community of change makers. Having spent nearly a decade at sea, it's clear to me that plastic is everywhere, from the tropics to the Arctic. I spend out on the ocean, I realize that the solutions start here on land, really at the source. But there is no silver bullet solution. And to avoid this becoming very overwhelming, my approach is to look at what individual role it is that we can all play within intersect the plastic problem. Whether you're an engineer or a chef, or you're really good at making little stories on Instagram, whatever it is, it's billions of micro actions that have got us to where we are today. And it's micro actions from all of us that are going to get us out of it. So
I'm Liz Taylor, and I'm a subsea technologist. We build underwater solutions to go below diver depth. We built a system for the University of Hawaii, a 6,000 meter rated system. And we had it over there recently doing some test dives to about 400 meters. And then we did a submersible dive. Bottle. The second thing we found was a wrapper from a snack cake rolling across the bottom, bumping into a sea cucumber as it made its way across the seafloor. And it's so that we have the opportunities to take politicians, maybe with a jettison for those guys, but to take politicians, artists, musicians, designers, material scientists, and clean waves on the surface. We really need to go deep and to fully understand the life support system that supports all of us. So we all do have the opportunity to take small steps and that are out there today. So it all starts small, but we can all be force multipliers. Thank you.
And hopefully a voice for the oceans as well. Chris, I want to thank you for dedicating such an enormous part of your life and passion and is a huge gift and something that we can't take for granted in this day and age of consumerism, of overconsumption of media, and since 1943, we've had the privilege and honor to go around the world on expeditions and go longer, deeper, and farther. And we've witnessed a lot of the third in that lineage to keep on doing that. We will keep going to those places and bring back those stories so that we can impassion those folks out there. But to continue on in that mission to impassioning, empowering other people. Kids are the most important things out there. Your kids, your neighbor's kids, make them better citizens. Understand what they're taught. It's not so important what I pledge. I've pledged my life to this. It's important what you pledge, each and every one of you. You've taken the first step today by coming here. Are you going to push the decision makers to making better decisions for all of us in the global community and our very own circulatory system of life, this aquatic place that we love? I see Cyril crawling up to me. I want to wish all of you a very happy and successful World Ocean Day. Thank you all very much, and go marching tomorrow.
And I wanted to get him on the stage, but you know what, Ilbaya, we can't get you anymore, like all the others, because we are over time. And I wish that you please just give a pledge. Now was part of our family. And we believe that we can create a network of creators, that we can unite all creators to change the world. So here, and led by the United Nations, will start in pretty much 10 minutes. Thank you all for being here and for the oceans.